Welcome to the twisted world of Mr. Beastly, where nightmares become reality and reality becomes a nightmare. Today's story is called House of Eternal Nightmares. Now on to the story. One dark and stormy night, I stumbled upon an old abandoned house nestled deep in the woods. The wind howled through the trees and rain poured relentlessly from the heavens above. My curiosity got the better of me, and against my better judgment, I decided to explore the eerie abode. As I stepped inside, the air grew thick with an unsettling presence. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet, and the musty smell of decay filled my nostrils. I could feel the weight of the unknown bearing down upon me. The flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows on the cracked walls, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Suddenly, a faint whisper echoed through the hallway. I strained my ears, trying to decipher the words, but they were just out of reach. I ventured further into the house. Each step I took felt like an eternity, as if time itself had all but stopped. The tension in the air was palpable, and I could taste the fear that hung heavy in the atmosphere. In the dimly lit room, I stumbled upon a worn-out journal lying on a dusty table. With trembling hands, I opened it, revealing page after page of cryptic writings. The words seemed to dance on the paper, forming an intricate tapestry of madness. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the journal, the words drawing me deeper into their web. The more I read, the more the lines between reality and nightmare blurred. The whispers grew louder, their sinister voices intertwining with the beats of my racing heart. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the silence, echoing through the empty halls. Panic consumed me. Against my better judgment, I ran towards the source of the sound. My mind raced with thoughts of who or what could be in danger, knowing very well that this could be some sort of trap. I burst into a room, only to find it empty. The walls seemed to close in around me as if mocking my futile attempts to escape. The shadows danced and twisted, their malicious presence suffocating me. I tried to escape, but the house seemed to have a mind of its own. It was as if it fed on my fear, relishing in my torment. Desperation took hold and I screamed for help, but my cries were met with silence. I stumbled deeper into the House of Eternal Nightmares, my mind reeling from the terror of the previous room. The whispers grew louder, their voices taunting me, urging me to continue. I knew I should turn back, but I couldn't resist the siren song of the unknown. I found myself in a long, dark hallway. The only light came from a flickering candle at the far end. I took a deep breath and started walking. As I got closer to the candle, I could see that it was sitting on a pedestal in the center of a circular room. The room was empty, except for a single chair in the center. I hesitated for a moment, then slowly approached the chair. I sat down, my hands trembling. As soon as I did, the candle went out, plunging the room into darkness. I sat in silence for a moment, listening to the whispers. They grew louder and louder until they were deafening. I felt a cold hand on my shoulder and I screamed. The darkness swirled around me and I felt myself falling. I fell for what felt like an eternity until I landed with a thud on a hard surface. I opened my eyes and found myself in a new room. The room was dimly lit by torches and the walls were covered in strange symbols. In the center of the room was a large altar, and on the altar was a book. I approached the altar and picked up the book. It was bound in black leather, and the title was written in a strange language that I didn't recognize. I opened the book and started to read. The book was full of spells and rituals, and the more I read, the more I realized that I had made a terrible mistake. I had stumbled into the lair of a powerful dark sorcerer. I quickly closed the book and placed it back on the altar. I turned to leave, but the door was gone. I was trapped. I heard a voice behind me. "Welcome to my domain," the voice said. I turned around and saw a man standing in the doorway. He was tall and gaunt, with pale skin and dark eyes. He was wearing a long black robe and he had a staff in his hand. "Who are you?" I asked. "I am the Master of Nightmares," he replied, "and I have been waiting for you." He raised his staff and a dark energy surged through the room. I felt myself being lifted off the ground and I screamed in terror. The Master of Nightmares laughed. "Your nightmares are now mine," he said, "and I will use them to create a new world, a world of darkness and despair." I closed my eyes, bracing for the worst. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the hallway. The whispers were gone and the house was eerily silent. I turned and ran, not daring to look back. I ran through the maze of rooms. I could hear the Master of Nightmares laughing behind me, but I didn't dare slow down. Finally, I reached the front door. I threw it open and burst outside. I stood there for a moment, catching my breath. The rain had stopped and the stars were shining brightly in the sky. I looked back at the house, but it was gone. I had escaped, but I knew that the Master of Nightmares was still out there somewhere. And I knew that he would be back. I've been living in fear ever since. I know that the Master of Nightmares is still out there, and I know that he's coming for me. I can't sleep at night, and I'm always looking over my shoulder. I'm writing this down as a warning to others. If you ever see the House of Eternal Nightmares, don't go inside. It's a trap and you'll never escape. And so another episode of the Twisted World of Mr. Beastly has concluded. Please stay tuned for more nightmarish tales from the Twisted World of Mr. Beastly. Thank you for visiting my channel.